it's the true American story in a way. She's rags to riches. She's from orphan to everyone's uh, everyone's everyone's lover, I suppose. She's she's so beautiful. She's vulnerable. She's incredibly sexy. She's sweet. She's kind, talented, and she dies young in this terrible mystery of which who nobody really has ever got to the bottom of. I
Hmm.
mean, the files are still shut in most in they're impossible to get open. And also nobody ever was held responsible for her death. They all disappeared. I mean, half of them flew out the next day. Nobody was ever questioned. And it was written off as suicide. I think 2 days after she died. And the law in California is, I've discovered that in order to get a case reopened, if it's suicide, you have to have a serious change in circumstances, i.e., some incredible piece of evidence that comes in order to reopen the case. And nobody's ever managed to get it reopened.
Hmm. So yeah, also it was just before the era where things could be so much more easily swept under the rug and just like nobody
Yeah.
asks questions and we move on. And I heard it in the newspaper and that must be true and all that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. But yes, and I think as an icon, I think she's that perfect sort of untouchable beauty that she's very like Princess Diana, I suppose, in
Hmm.
that that beauty is held in aspect forever. She's and James Dean is another one. All these beautiful people who died young. There's nothing more awful than getting old in front of the world. These guys didn't. I mean, she didn't. She stayed forever young and forever beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, and she talked about it was fascinating that even as she was very successful, she talked about wanting her life to end kind of openly, like maybe not
Oh,
in public, but to people she knew.
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she was always frightened about being found dead alone, which is exactly what happened. I mean, she basically predicted her own death
Yeah,
about 15 or 20 years previously. I mean, it's desperate.
yeah,
I'm the
it's
sort of girl who ends up dead alone or something, I think she said.
ugh,
And that,
um,
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, it's, yes, and it is a proper tragedy. And I have to say, researching her and writing about her, I really did rather grow to love her. And, I do have two children of my own. So there's a sort of maternal part of you that comes out and goes, oh my God, if only somebody looked after you. If only
right,
somebody had, tucked you in bed at night and give you some cocoa and brushed your hair, you might have been all right. I
yeah,
think we had so little love and affection and
mm,
so little intimacy and so little um, nurturing as a young child that she was, she couldn't cope with the brutality of the world.
Well, I appreciated the fact I mean, when you look at the title that, it's talking about the last days of her
Mm.
life, but I do feel like for some people who especially when they're ending in tragic or mysterious circumstances, there's so much of an over focus on their death.
Mm.
And I loved the fact that this book isn't just I mean, I'm sure there's great books that could be chronicling the one day and that's it, or
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah.
it really it is important, I think, to remember figures like this as with more totality, and they are not just the set of circumstances that led to their death. They are a whole
Mm.
person that had all these things that led to it, and the ups and downs, and their own thoughts. And so I think that it's important, and I'm glad this book really chronicles that as opposed to just a hyper focus on this tragic event.
Yeah.
Was there ever a discussion of like what should the scope be? Were you back and forth about that?
Yeah, with James, yes. Yeah, yeah, a lot. Yeah, and, I was quite keen to say how she'd lived. Uh, and obviously everyone really wants to know who killed her.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah. Yeah, who do you think killed her?
Yeah.
And I've got my theory. What's your theory? What was your takeaway at the end of it? Who did you think? Who
Ooh.
did you put in the frame?
I mean, it seems the fact, all those clues you're talking about, the lack of any
Mm,
blue dye and the lack of water, the potentially moved body. It's hard not to think of it as at least foul play. It seems unlikely that she killed herself, or I don't know, that it was an accident. I suppose if you're someone who constantly takes a ton of pills and alcohol,
Mm,
there's always the chance that there was an accidental overdose. Even if it didn't happen there, she was with people or she took too many pills and they were like, we
mm,
got to get her out of here. Let's bring her to,
mm.
home. That's a possibility. But yeah, it's hard not to, especially as it relates to that era of assassinations and not
Yeah,
quite being able to figure out who was behind all these things and the power of the mafia and the power. It's just, yeah, I definitely am open to the notion that somebody did this to her. It seems like it leads there, but I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I always think that life is nowhere near as glamorous as everyone hopes it is. So I sort of, when I was writing it, I kept on thinking, yeah, I think it's the housekeeper. I think
Really?
it's an yeah, I think it's an accidental overdose from the housekeeper, because there's all that stuff of her washing sheets, if you remember in the book,
Yeah.
washing sheets. I don't think the Kennedys had anything to do with it, but I think they helped cover it up,
Mm,
I think.
okay.
But I think, she was obsessed with having enemas, Marilyn, so I think she was given a barbiturate enema
Which is
by
what I think the autopsy concluded, right?
No, no, I
Oh,
don't think it concluded anything. It just concluded that she'd
that
taken
she had
an
it. Okay.
overdose
Gotcha.
but that she'd done it herself.
Gotcha. Okay.
So obviously she committed suicide. That's what they
Right. Right. Right.
yeah. Whereas
So you
I
think the housekeeper did
mhm,
it for her, like upon request kind of
upon
thing?
request, yeah, yeah,
Interesting. And then just changed her story as I discovered her,
yes,
you
yeah,
know.
that's what I think. But I mean, yeah, that's I know. It's also the least sexy option, by the way.
Right. Right. I know, right? And it just, I mean, talk about the timing that RFK was there, and she had this book and had been
Yeah,
scorned by both Kennedys and she was going to come forward and then
yes,
Sinatra and the mafia. So it's like the timing of that is remarkable.
yes, exactly, exactly. And there is the other thing called the hotshot theory, obviously, which is that she was injected in the hip by by some nefarious CIA
Mm,
agent or other,
right.
and that there is sort of supposedly a tiny little injection mark in her hip.
Mm,
But I'm hopefully one day we will actually know. But
right.
I mean that's my theory, and also Eunice Murray, whatever her name's, disappeared overnight and was never ever questioned.
Mm.
So that's better, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's
It's the least
interesting.
sexy theory,
I
really.
know, but still a fascinating one.
Well, that's my personal theory. I mean, that's
Yeah,
not when I wrote. Well, I give you loads
right.
of options in the book.
I know. Well, that's as I said early on, that is the beauty of it, where you're just kind of
Yeah.
like, "Ooh,
So you
you
get
lay a lot of
to
tracks."
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has been
Oh,
so great.